As Donald Trump ratchets up his claim that the electoral process is rigged against him, the man in charge of voting in Ohio is calling Trump's claims irresponsible. Major Garrett talked to Ohio's Secretary of State, Jon Husted.
Ohio, we make it easy to vote and hard to cheat, and I'm here to reassure Donald Trump that there's no widespread voter fraud going on in our state.
What would you say about the rough indictment that Trump is trying to make about this process, not only in Ohio, but nationally? I mean, you obviously speak to other secretaries of state. You guys meet on a regular basis. This is not the only job secretaries of state have, but it is one of the most, if not the most important, particularly in a presidential election year.
Well, I can tell you that it undermines confidence in democracy, and we shouldn't be doing that. Our presidential candidates should make sure that people believe in our democracy. They should be building it up. They should be encouraging people to vote. They should encourage confidence in our system, not undermine it. If Donald Trump has, for example, he said that it was widespread. If it's widespread, then it must be systemic. If it's systemic, then we need to know where the weaknesses are. Please share the facts with us about where the voting systems are failing, and we'll fix them. But right now, other than a tweet, we know nothing from Donald Trump or the Trump campaign as it relates to this.
And in your conversations with other secretaries of state, is this something that you rank near the highest of your concerns, or is it actually a much more day-to-day, hour-to-hour concern, just putting the people and the personnel together to run a good election?
It's all of those things. Look, voter fraud is something we care about. I'll back up and just say, we hear lots of claims about voter disenfranchisement and voter fraud. And the bottom line is that the secretaries of state around this country take a lot of pride in making sure that the elections work for everybody. In most states, the elections are a bipartisan process where Democrats and Republicans work at the local level to deliver the vote. And it's frankly one of the places where Democrats and Republicans actually work well together. They believe in democracy, they participate in it, they try to build confidence in our system.
And help us understand, Mr. Secretary, the difference between voter disenfranchisement and fraud, or is there one?
Well, the difference is that a lot of times the Democrats will charge that people are being kept away from the polls or not allowed to vote to motivate their voters. Republicans try to say that voter fraud or something is wrong with the system to try to motivate their voters. The bottom line for all of us who are secretaries of state is that we strike a balance to make sure that neither of those happen. America's system of elections is as strong and reliable as it's ever been. And we feel confident going into this election cycle that we're better than we were 4 years ago and 4 years before that. American democracy gets better all the time, not worse. We shouldn't undermine it. We should build confidence in it.
And based on your understanding of the literature, is that essentially what you found in Ohio, similar to what other states have found as they've looked into this topic?
Well, we've found a limited amount of voter fraud, but you know, it's important. It's not. Let me back up and just say we found a limited amount of voter fraud, but you don't want to tolerate any level of fraud. We've had 109 elections in Ohio over the last 3 years that have been decided by one voter tied for mayoral races, school levies, and things like that. So we take every case of voter fraud seriously. But there's a difference between an individual random act and a systemic problem. And we do not have any systemic problems, and I'm not aware of any systemic problem in any state in the country. On an individual act, it's a 5th-degree felony in Ohio. People are caught, they're held accountable. We send people to prison for it on the rare cases that it happens. And so the idea of building a national campaign where you're suggesting that the elections process itself is rigged is an irresponsible comment.